All right, guys, welcome to day 3 of the Local Lead Generation Challenge. Today, we are going to cover the anatomy of a successful ad. So on day 1, we covered profitable planning, talking about offers, knowing your numbers, setting goals. On day 2, we talked about audiences, buyer personas, and targeting. So today, we're actually going to look at some of the creative, some of the copy, things to do with your headlines, the ways that you can formulate a successful ad that's going to ultimately generate the leads that you're looking for. So it's very, very interesting to see what works and what doesn't work. I have had so many clients or students over the years that have said, we've tried this, maybe we've tried even the same offer, we didn't get any leads. And then we set up a new campaign, we set up their new ads, and it's completely different. We get 100 leads in the first month. And you have to ask yourself why that is. This is because you are really trying to understand what attracts people and what drives them to the next step. So very excited to share this with you. Definitely one of the most important things you need, because you can't generate new clients if you don't have leads. You can't get leads if your ads don't work. But tomorrow, we're actually going to be covering how to convert these leads into paying customers. So as much as I think today is one of the absolute most valuable pieces of the puzzle, it is not the most valuable. And that is because acquisition is all that matters. If your ads are working and you're getting leads, that means that you're spending money. And if you're spending money, you absolutely want to be making money back from that. But if you're not doing that, then you're really actually losing out instead of winning if those leads are not converting. So definitely want to show you some of the things that I love to use, some of the frameworks that I try and use. Ultimately, everything in my business, my goal is to make it somewhat automated or predictable, and having frameworks for copy, frameworks for creative, and how to set up successful ads. This is what allows us to do more. And it's also the things that we share with and show our students in the Local Marketing Mastery Implementation Program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you and we will get started. Give me 2 seconds. Okay, so this is the anatomy of a successful ad. Ultimately, successful ads do have things in common. It's going to be very different based on the industry, based on who your audience is, based on the traffic temperature, based on what your offer is, but there are a series of things that will remain the same. So this is an ad I literally put together in 5 minutes for the IT company that we've been talking about. So I like to use other examples, kind of as we go through this, because I know everyone's in a different industry. They have a different type of business. This one is a B2B business, which is not an example that I've used before, but ultimately we are looking at human to human marketing, not B2B, not B2C. So think about it just in terms of what people really want, what they need, what captures their attention. So the first thing that you want to think about is definitely going to be where they fit within your ad framework. So definitely don't have time to go into all the details of the ad framework that we use. I mentioned this earlier. We call it the AB3. It's the 3-level ad system that we developed for our clients, for our agency, for any of our students. And it does have a very specific set of requirements for each level of ad that you are running. So you definitely need to know, which level of ad am I running? What's the purpose of this ad? What's the purpose of this campaign? But number one, you need to have scroll stopping creative, okay? When you think about it in terms of step by step, the same way that you would if you were trying to identify where your ad is failing or where your funnel or where your entire system is failing, you have to look at it from what has to happen first to move on to the next step. So if someone is on social media they have to stop in order to see what it is you're doing, see what you're offering, read your ad. Okay. That is really caused when the creative is scroll stopping, when it's good, when it's eye catching. There's so many different ways you can achieve this, honestly. Video, you can achieve it. Regular organic feeling photo can achieve it. And something that's a little bit more bold, like this image here, definitely can work either way. Sometimes you need to test it. Sometimes you may just have a good feeling based on what the industry is. So let's be honest. There are not going to be a ton of like great business photos that I personally think would work well. This is an IT company. They're like sitting in offices. They work on people's computers. There are definitely things that we are going to test. But my first instinct was to use something like this to make it a little bit more fun, try and simplify it. These are sometimes complex services that this business is providing. So we really just want to make it, you know, a little less serious and get people to chuckle a little bit. I love using humor in our ads. So that's something, again, we don't necessarily have time to cover all of that. But using humor is a great way to achieve your goal if you know what works. So this ad is the mobile view. So we will talk about that in just a second, but we want to make sure we have headline, creative, and offer synergy. This is a problem that I see when I do ad critiques. A lot of times the creative will be kind of focusing on one thing, but what they're asking you to do doesn't really line up. Or maybe the headline doesn't have anything to do with the copy and the creative we're talking about. So you really want to make sure that all three of those are working in sync together. And sometimes it doesn't have to be a visual representation of what you're talking about in your copy. Sometimes there's simply no way to do that based on, you know, what you're actually saying, but they should feel like they go together. Okay, so this is a humorous ad. It's humorous ad copy. If you were to read all of it, it's going to be funny. And it's basically talking about how you would rather do anything than deal with slow computers. And for those of us who work on computers, you would probably agree. The line right after this is, you know, fight zombie apocalypse, and it has a little zombie emoji. And it's just showing you literally anything is better than dealing with a slow computer when you need to get things done. This ad is going to those business owners that we talked about yesterday. So business owners care about making money. They care about being more productive. They care about their employees being more productive. So that's what the rest of this ad is really speaking to. So we do have another headline that we're going to be testing that does talk a little bit more about like money as opposed to what matters, because not all business owners care about money the most. So we want to make sure that we understand that, and that not everyone has the same drivers. We talked about drivers yesterday. We talked about drivers on day one as well. So we definitely want to make sure that we're taking that into account whenever we're creating our ads. So this is the mobile view again, and we want to make sure that the mobile view is fully optimized. Okay. That means that you've got a very small amount of space to make a big impact. It used to be like 5 lines before this see more. We only get 3 lines now, and it's really 2.5 if you actually look at it, because this see more takes up almost half of the line. You've got to catch their attention. You've got to make sure they know that this is for them in those 2.5 lines. I could not stress that enough. Okay, you also want to make sure that in the mobile view, either the entire headline fits, or what does fit is a complete thought or is effective in its own right. So most of the time, I'll be honest, I try and just make it so that the entire headline fits in mobile view. That really means you've got just one line in desktop view. And we'll look at a desktop view in just a second. But we want to make sure that if somebody is on mobile, which depending on the business, it's going to vary, but I'd say like 75% of people are going to see your ad on mobile. You want to make sure that this is a complete thought, that this is compelling, because your headline, it's important. And if they only get part of the thought, they're not going to tie it all together. You're not going to have that synergy that you're supposed to have. So on some ad objectives, you have to have a button. Like there's really no option for no button. On some ad objectives, you can choose to not have a button. That's definitely something that we like to test. Sometimes it's great to not have a button. You actually get more space for your headline and your newsfeed link description. We'll look at newsfeed link description on the next page, but I typically use that space as a very clear call to action because I like to use my headline as a way to tie my copy and creative together. I don't just want to say, click here to get our first month offer. You know, it's boring. Nobody cares about that. You can say that in the copy, but your creative should stop them. Your copy should compel them to convert and to click. And then your headline should really tie it all together. So if you want to be super boring, just go ahead and use that headline and tell them exactly like what to do. Sometimes you can do both at times, but I would really encourage you to try and have a little bit more creativity when it comes to headlines. People are so saturated with ads, whether it's on Facebook and Instagram, on TV, on the radio, wherever it is. We want something that's actually creative and fun and something that makes us think. We don't want the same old thing. This is not newspaper advertising where we put up one ad, it goes out to everybody. It's got a buy now, limited time offer, and that's all anyone ever sees. This is definitely more personal. It's more fun. You can really play around with it a lot more. So again, we want to make sure that you know where this ad fits within the AB3 framework. This is going to be a level 2 ad. We're really trying to get them to convert. And then we want to speak directly to the audience. So this is talking to somebody who's in business, okay? Cold calling, that's a business thing. Client complaints, that's a business thing. Managing employees is definitely a business owner thing, or a high-level manager who also could potentially be responding to this ad. It doesn't say, attention business owners, if you're having problems with slow computers. It could, and that's definitely something that can be tested, can work. Again, be a little creative, like you can actually have fun with this. It's still calling out who I'm talking to. Somebody who doesn't understand these things, that's not who I'm speaking to. I already know the audience is a more targeted audience. They are or should be business owners, and it should resonate with them. So if I was sending this out to the general public, I'm not going to get the response rate that I want because somebody who's not a business owner, this just isn't going to matter to them. So getting that targeting right is super important on the front end, but then making sure that you have something that does speak to them, that touches on their pain points, that really relates to them. So speaks directly to audience, we've got that, and then sends to the right destination. These need to be created first. I have 3 different destinations that we test, sometimes 4. Forms, that could be something like Typeform or Survey Gizmo or a lead form. This could be a funnel, or this could be Facebook Messenger lead generation. We're actually now testing text ads. So lots of different places that you can send someone. The place that works best for you and your business is not necessarily going to be the same place that works best for someone else's business. The market that you are in definitely plays a part in what people are more used to seeing and responding to. How good your stuff is in general. Like, just because your funnel isn't converting doesn't mean that funnels don't convert. It means your funnel isn't converting. And so yes, maybe you'd be better off with a form, because I'd rather send someone to a form than to a page that's not going to get them to convert. There are pros and cons to all of them, but you have to understand that all of them can work in the right circumstances for any business. It is going to depend on what you have, how good it is, if it fits the offer, if it speaks clearly, has the right messaging, has the right social proof. So many things need to line up for this to work the right way, that again, you need to know what to look for. You need to be able to identify the breakdown. So it's great to be able to test these different destinations. Sometimes the different levels of ads that we have set up in our system, they do have different destinations that work best at those different levels. So we definitely are going to try those first, but you also can really test a variety of destinations on any level of ad for the most part, just to see what's working best for you. You are going to have to create those. And that's another thing that I really want to make sure that people understand is this is not an ad. This is a system. Okay. So we had 2 days that we did not even look at an ad. We didn't even touch any element of this ad. And we barely scratched the surface on what there is to know about those things, to be honest. So when it comes to actually setting up your social media marketing and lead generation systems, It's a system. The destinations, creating an effective chatbot, creating an effective funnel, setting up these forms in the right way, getting the integrations connected between all of them, making sure your ad messaging fits everything that you're doing in those destinations, completing the ad system planning, completing your actual ads, doing the testing. This really is a full system. So that's another huge mistake that I see people making is they are very narrow-minded when it comes to way they're looking at their marketing. You can't be like that if you want to succeed. You have to understand that this is not about one ad. This is not about one offer sometimes. This is about a collection of assets working together to help you achieve the ultimate goal that you want to see, which is generating leads at affordable cost and getting them to convert at the highest possible rate, producing the highest level of revenue for your business, either in the short term or the long term, depending on the structure of your business. So please think about that. Don't just jump into Ads Manager and throw up an ad and expect it to work, because I can guarantee you it's probably just not going to. Then you're going to believe that it's the platform that's not working. Sometimes you may even blame your offer, which is a big problem because you may have a great offer, but you just don't have anything else that you need. And you can't expect it to work if you only have one piece of the puzzle. So, like I mentioned before, frameworks are so important, okay? That ad that I just showed you is literally a copy of this ad. This is an ad that I wrote for a laundry company, okay? Completely unrelated. And guess what? Works just the same. All I'm doing is switching out the pain points, switching out the avatar, switching out the offer, switching out what's included. Very, very simple. Some of you may recognize the framework of this ad. This is an ad that I used for my own challenge. This ad had worked well for me in the past. So guess what? I copied it and I changed everything to fit the avatar, fit the offer, fit the business, fit the pain points. This ad has been hugely successful. Like all of these ads have been crushing it for this business, but we definitely have a great offer. I literally redid their front end offer. I did their back end pricing. Like everything changed in terms of the way that they were presenting their services. For most people, like that's not even what they hire us for. That's what we end up doing if that's what needs to be done, because it doesn't matter how good my ads are. If the offer is wrong, if the back-end monetization system is not working, then you're definitely not gonna see financial results. You'll still see leads, but not financial results. Again, that's all that matters here. So love this ad. Love this ad. This is going to be a retargeting ad. Definitely different. These are level 2 and level 3. So you're not going to see our level 1 ads here that basically kind of set the stage for this. But, all 3 of these have worked really, really well. This is that newsfeed link description. So sometimes you can use it to say, click the button to claim your offer. Sometimes we will do something like that. And sometimes we'll try and tie it all together. So what's hilarious is the image is the only thing that even insinuates laundry unless they read the rest of the ad. This is a very long copy. People read the entire thing because it's engaging. But it's about being a parent and taking back your time, which is ultimately all that this company is trying to do for somebody. That's who they're speaking to heavily. That's what they're trying to do for them. Laundry is just what they do to achieve that. So stop thinking so much about your specific product and service and start thinking about your client and your customer, what they need, what their challenges are, and how you can address that and tie in what you do. So steps to creating your campaigns and your ads. Again, this is a much longer process than I can really show you in this 5-day challenge. This is something that takes us, again, 2 months just to set up in our implementation program. It takes my team 2 full weeks to set everything up for a done-for-you client. So we're just going to be able to kind of give you a high-level overview of what you need to do. So number 1, you're going to plan out your campaign on paper first. We actually have 2 different planning documents that we use in the agency or in the program to plan things out before they ever go into Ads Manager. Step number 2 is to make sure that you're structuring your campaigns correctly in Ads Manager based on the ad level, the audience you're trying to reach, the purpose of the campaign, the offer specifically, the ad objective, and making sure that the budget is the right budget for that type of ad that's going to help you achieve your goals. That's another thing. I get a lot of questions on budgeting. It is something that has several different formulas that are kind of overlaid on top of each other. I did build a spreadsheet that breaks this out for you. It was a lot of work manually to try and effectively figure that out based on all these different budgets. But there is a certain amount that you should be spending at each level and on each type of campaign. But again, it's a lot for us to go over in just these 5 short days if we're going to cover all of the systems that we need. Step number 3 is to test at least 2 pieces of copy and 2 pieces of creative. So you could just change the core body copy of the ad. Maybe you change the headline too. That really is up to you. I always have several different creative variations. Sometimes it's just an image. Sometimes it's like an image with graphics and text on it. Sometimes it's a video. Sometimes it's a boomerang, like lots of different options. That's something else that we have to go through pretty heavily, like in all of our programs, is how content fits within this system and how to effectively and quickly create your content so you're not wasting your time trying to do all these things every day. Return on investment really happens when people are more efficient, because I think we all know that time is money, and we don't want you spending time on things that won't help you see a real financial return in the end. Then we want to analyze the results of the testing campaigns or ad sets that we've created. We want to scale the ones that are working. We want to shut off the ones that are not working. There may be some that are kind of on the line that you want to continue to let run and play out. Things do not always work the same way over time as they do in the beginning. Sometimes the results get better over time. Sometimes the results get worse. You really need to pay attention, analyze these things, make sure you understand what those financial and cost per lead, cost per acquisition goals are, so that when an ad set or a campaign gets outside of that, you know your limit and you can shut it off without having this emotional involvement. You're shutting it off based on real data that tells you that it is no longer within a range that you can afford. Otherwise, you'll be listening to your gut, and I can guarantee you, you will probably shut off and turn on the same ad like multiple times. Because you'll say, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out, like it's not working how I want to. Shut off. You know, maybe I didn't give that enough time. Turn on. It's an endless cycle, and you don't want to be that way. That is not the way to manage marketing or run your business. You have to do it based on true data, true results, and something that's logical and not emotional. This can be an emotional process if you're spending your own money. Spending thousands of dollars out of your own pocket, sometimes it can make people feel a little anxious if they're not used to doing that. However, if you know that your system works, if you know what your costs need to be in order for you to see a significant financial return, it takes the fear out of it. It really allows you to breathe and just say, I'll spend whatever I need to spend to hit these goals, because guess what? I know that every dollar I'm putting in, I'm going to see $5 in return. That really allows you to invest more in your business, invest more in your marketing, but only the marketing that's truly working. If something doesn't work for us, it doesn't matter how much I liked the ad, how much I thought it was great. I just turn it off, because it's not about me. It's about the client and what they're responding to, but it's also about the dollars that I'm putting in my pocket, the dollars I'm putting in my client's pocket, and that is simply based on data. So this whole thing is a very creative process. That's really what drove me to be so obsessed with marketing. I'm a graphic designer, I'm a writer, I love creative stuff, but I'm also a very logical person, and I like having a clear set of rules and a very clear strategy that's going to tell me what needs to happen so that I don't have to respond emotionally or irrationally or impulsively. I can really do things in the right way so that I can make sure that my efforts aren't for nothing. You would hate to spend a lot of time on something that could have been very successful, and based on your own misguided thoughts, you shut that off. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen at times. And it's what I really want to help you avoid. Finally, homework for day 3. Basically, you're going to be mapping out at least one ad or campaign and setting it up. So that should be a lot easier now that you know your offer, your numbers, your audiences. taking a look at the creative and the headlines and these different things that are really going to help your ads succeed. So go ahead and map this out on paper, create your 2 creative variations, whatever those may be, create your 2 copy variations, whatever those may be. Make sure that you either do 2 variations that focus on maybe like a different avatar or a different pain point that the same avatar would experience, or maybe it's just a different angle. You know, it could just be kind of looking at it in a different perspective. Those are 3 things I usually like to consider whenever I'm doing some testing with my copy. So now you're going to want to build out your campaign in Ads Manager. Even if you only have 1 ad, you still have to build the campaign from start to finish. Make sure that if you are going to be testing those things, that you are setting up those ad sets or those separate testing campaigns in the right way to actually see the true results of your tests. So that's all I've got for today. I hope you guys have really enjoyed it. Again, tomorrow is going to be one of the most important days because we're going to be talking about how to turn the leads that you're generating from these ads and making paying clients out of them. That is our only goal here. We don't care about likes. We don't care about comments. We don't care about shares. We don't care about leads. We care about financial return, and we care about client acquisition, doing it in a predictable way, affordable cost to help you scale your business or to help the company that you work for scale their business in a really systemized fashion that reduces anxiety, streamlines the process, and becomes a lot more effective at the end of the day. So I really look forward to seeing you there. Get your homework done tonight. Again, I'll say this every single day. Please implement what I've gone over with you today. That is why we're here. Action trumps knowledge any day of the week. Please be an action taker. You're here for a reason. I want to be here to support that. So if you have any questions, post them in the group. I would love to answer them. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow on day 4.